Hey YouTube, my name is Joe Kim. Welcome. Come right in. Welcome to my humble little home. Looking forward to showing you guys around. This is where I live. It's been a few months in the making. We have been renovating, been tearing everything down, been trying to rethink the whole place, and I think we finally reached a step where I feel proud and ready to present it to the world. So let's go for a little walk and see how we live. So this is what we call the grand hall, la gang, the entrance. And before we moved in, this was just also part of the main space of the hall. But since we have recently turned this, while we were renovating, we turned this into like a combined unit. So we have our guests on Airbnb sleeping upstairs, and then we sleep downstairs. We managed to squeeze in a little extra bathroom in here, which is again dedicated for the guests completely, and I think it turned out pretty well. And if we step a little bit further inside, so this is where we have divided our apartments, which means that from here on and in, me and my family are living. So when we have guests, we close the door. And in here, you see what we call the main space. We could call it the kitchen, we could call it the dining area. It's all combined into one big, open, lush space. What we really enjoy about this space is obviously the lighting that's coming in from south here, and we have like, I have to say it's a bit unusual that you have so many and so tall windows in apartments in Copenhagen, but that's one of the things that we really fell for when we bought this place. And also the whole green outlook that you have towards the courtyard, which is obviously pretty unique as well. Really appreciate the green elements, as you might have noticed, and that's also why we have decided to call our Airbnb the Copenhagen Greenhouse. And also this is where we invite guests over. We can dine 8, probably 10 people here. So we think that social gatherings and social dining is actually one of the core elements of life, we've come to realize. So we wanted to be able to host people and welcome people for dinner parties and stuff like that. And this room has turned out to work pretty well for that. And a note that I want to share is also the style of this kitchen is very minimalistic and Scandinavian. I think, to be honest, I would have liked, because it was like this when we came in, I would have done it a little bit different. But the cool thing is that it's, you know, it's an open kitchen, so you can be standing here cooking the dishes or doing the dishes or whatever you are up to, while still being part of the, you know, the whole social gathering, which is pretty cool. And if we step out here, this is our, what's it called? It's called a balcony, where we usually sit here in the morning, drink a sip of coffee, and try to crystallize the grand visions of our lives while enjoying the beautiful sky above. And it's pretty unique to have this spot as well. And yeah, we enjoyed it a lot. We enjoyed it a lot. And it's a very narrow, but narrow and long balcony, so we have divided it up. So this is, right now it's a storage area, but we usually have like evening table over here where the sun sets and you can grill and stuff. It's pretty cool. So the awesome thing about these trees is, at first when I came in, I thought that it's a bit annoying that there's so many trees, because it actually it gives you a lot of shade, but you really begin to become grateful for the shade in summertime, because there's almost no wind here. So for example, now you can sit over there in the sun a few minutes and you roast and you're done. Here you can actually enjoy it for quite a long time. It's really nice. And also inside the room here means that it doesn't like get completely overheated during summertime. You wouldn't be able to be here if there are snow trees. So that's pretty cool. And over here we have made our lounge area where we sit, hang out, have a cup of tea in the evening. And this, my ladies and gentlemen, is the creative corner. I present to you, this is my office space. This is where I sit and try to do some kind of work at least. I wish I was playing more on these instruments. It would be a bit more cool, but right now it's more on the computer. So what we see here is a table that I found online, which I think is pretty cool. It's from the 1920s. It's an old Swedish architecture draftsman table, handmade and designed in Sweden. And as I said, I think it's 100 years old. They produced these in the 20s and the 30s. And the cool thing is that you can push the pedal here and level it up. I always wanted to have an office space where I can stand up and do work, because obviously that's pretty important for the posture and for health. But I think all those modern leveling tables, they always look like shit, to be honest. So I was happy that I found this, and also pretty beautiful. And over here in the corner we have our good friend Tesla Optimus. Some of you might have heard about him. I think it's going to be an interesting future in the hands of him. And if you guys don't know who he is, I suggest you look it up. Tesla Optimus, he's going to be the greatest product of all time. And let's save that for another video. But this is a piece of, what's it called? Ceramic or clay that I've sculptured on my trip to Florence a few years ago, where I thought it was going to be a big sculpture artist, and it didn't turn out quite like that yet. You never know. But at least I got this piece brought home with me. So now and it's Julius Caesar, if you guys were wondering who he is supposed to look like. And over here we have another piece of fancy equipment. This is one we actually got as a gift from the people that made the sink for our bathroom, which I'm going to show you in a little bit. But I thought it was cool because it's as you can see, it's like a dumbbell, but it's made from marble cut out from a mountain. Pretty cool stuff. And the next room of the little tour is our master, the the bedroom, where we spend our nights. We didn't actually do much to this room yet. It's still in the making. We have a piece of artwork on the wall. We have a closet that I put up last week, and Leonardo's bed over there. Yeah, and up here we installed these windows that is very nice to have, because we don't have too much light in here because there's only one roof window. So that's a way to make it more light and feels more spacious. And if we continue onwards, we have the kids' room, Leonardo's room. He's still 10 months old, so it's not like he's gonna use this for a while. But this is where we change the diapers and stuff like that. And also here we made the same style windows below the ceiling to get some extra light inside these rooms. And it's profound how much it actually makes the room come much more alive, I believe. It makes it feel much more spacious because you have so much light coming in. And yeah, those lamps are pretty cool. We found them. I actually met this crazy guy from Czechoslovakia who was working in the 90s and the 80s in Eastern Europe, tearing down factories and old storage facilities in all over Eastern Europe, Ukraine, Russia, Germany and stuff. And he snagged a few hundred or a few thousand of these lamps before they were crushed by the demolition team. And he stored them ever since, and now he's selling some of them off once in a while. So I think these ones are probably from the 60s or something. Pretty cool stuff as well. And this is what we actually are a little bit proud of. We have put a lot of love into this room, and this is the bathroom, obviously. This is the sink that I was telling you about. It's a Travertine marble sink. This sink is cut from mountain as well in Portugal in one piece, and then we had it shipped up here. Not cheap, but I think it was really a cool element to put some extra resources into, because you're gonna use this sink like 4, 5, or 6 times every day, especially when you have a kid. So we kind of splurged a little bit on that. And if you step a little bit further in, we have our bathtub, which we managed to squeeze in. And I think it's pretty cool to have a bathtub in an apartment. It's pretty rare in Copenhagen that we can fit that in, but we managed to do it here, and I think it's really important, especially when you have a kid. We have Leonardo. When he's been playing around all day, it's just such a relief to be able to throw him in here. Of course, be mindful and watch over him all the time, but it's really cool. And it's actually, it almost feels like being in a spa when you're sitting like here and watching, you know, all these plants. I mean, again, the ceiling is pretty high up here, which I really put a lot of effort into what's it called, utilizing as much as possible. So I installed these oak framed wooden windows, which is pretty cool, and it adds a lot of, you know, dynamism to the room, if you ask me. Last detail is this towel heater, which I inherited from my father. It's a Danish design, actually. It's called Tony. Probably 50 years old as well, brass, pretty cool stuff. And then in the winter time, you can hang your towels and they dry because it's warm. Yeah.
Do you use the bathtub?
If I use it, I use it probably 5 times a week. Yeah. And also in the summertime, to be honest. It's really nice to jump in there after a long day and just relax and rinse off. Last detail on this floor is the last detail on this floor is the, I guess you would call it utility storage, laundry space where we can do all the ugly and boring parts of a household. But it's also a great way to have it accessible from the bathroom, as you know. Obviously, I also need to mention the artwork that is on the wall, because all these paintings are done by my late father, Peter Viskente, and he was, in my eyes, a great artist. He did a lot of paintings over his life and also a great musician. So I inherited a lot of his paintings that I think works pretty well in this room, especially with the colors combined with the plants, and the guitar is also a piece that I inherited from him after he passed away. He was a great guitarist. Let's jump upstairs. So again, this is the space that we created for our guests. Sometimes we do use it ourselves, of course. It looks like this. So this is what we call Copenhagen greenhouse, and the roof terrace, the roof garden is it actually. My wife has put a lot of work into the green arrangements up here. I think she did a very good job. Obviously, especially during summer, it's not the worst place to hang out, because if you notice, the only sound you can hear is actually the wind in the trees and some birds singing in the distance. And it's pretty unique, I believe, because it is, of course, it's spacious, it's lush, it's beautiful, but it's also extremely peaceful and quiet. If you notice, you can hear a few kids playing in the background, but otherwise, extremely quiet. We want to create a space where people, they can feel, of course, at home and at peace, and also get a good night's rest, obviously. So this is the bedroom, which was more used as a storage room. It was completely trashed, which is insane to think about, if you ask me. So we really redone the whole place and tried to make it into something that we think is nice to stay over in. And because we don't have a lot of space, we tried to come up with some creative solutions on how to optimally utilize the whole space. And one of the ways to do that was to install this fold-out table, or fold-down table, which can be tucked away like this. So if you need more space on the floor, you can do it like that. We installed a small kitchen, a small fridge that people can keep their drinks cold at. And another note that I can mention is that this bed is actually a bed that I made with my sister from scratch. So we wanted to do a specific bed, or a homemade bed, because since we have some guests who visits from all over the world, they sometimes carry big luggage and stuff, obviously. So to get some extra ground clearance, I think you would call it, we had to design and create our own, because I couldn't find a bed that had this high, what's it called, legs. So we made it ourselves, and then people can store the luggage beneath, which is also working out pretty well. And obviously, last but not least, I have to show you our little, we actually call it not just an outdoor shower, but an outdoor bathroom. We're trying to create a space here where you can not just rinse yourself, but also prepare yourself for the day. So I just installed a mirror. I'm gonna do like a small sink here and some cabinets. So you have, pretty unique to have an outdoor bathroom, if you ask me. I usually go here every morning for a cold shower whenever it is possible and the place is not booked. And it's pretty cool. And finally, we also installed this kitchenette, outdoor kitchenette, where people we have been grilling. You have an outdoor stove we can set up, and you can do small dishes, dinner parties and stuff like that, which is also pretty cool. I think that, unfortunately, many of our guests, they haven't used it yet. Most of the time, people, they go out to dine, but at least it's an option that people, they get. But yeah, one final note is, one of the things that I thought was really cool about this place is obviously the ability, or the option that you can open up the room like this and obviously close it off when you need it. And this is obviously also why it's called a greenhouse, because it is glass all the way in the front and glass all the way in the top as well. But it gets pretty fucking hot in there, so we usually keep the door open. That's it for today, guys. Thanks for stopping by. If you are interested in booking the place upstairs, the Airbnb, I'm gonna put a link in the description below. And let me know if you saw this video, and I'll be happy to provide you with some kind of discount as possible. And I think that's it for today. Thanks. See you around.